When you take a look at Divi 5 and SiteKrafter, the Divi 5 framework, it looks like there isn't much of a difference between the two, but there is a massive difference. Now let's cover this. So first of all, the SiteKrafter framework comes with a child theme. So a child theme is very important because it is a starting point for any website. In the future, if you want to add, let's say, your PHP code to your functions.php and so on, it means that every time you update Divi, it will not override your PHP code. So having a child theme is very, very important. And this is what SiteKrafter comes with. But not only that. Now, let me show you even more features that you may want to consider here. So at the moment, I have a basic SiteKrafter website, and then here I have a normal Divi website. So we know that there's been the latest feature, the variables, and also the variables manager. Okay, so SiteKrafter framework also uses these, but in a different way. SiteKrafter is a design system, whereas Divi will just give you the tools. Let me show you how this works in real time. Okay, so over here we have Divi. Okay, we're going to go to the variables manager. We go to the numbers. So this is where you would go in and enter manually all your variables that you need to use in your website, which is fantastic. So let's take a note of this. We're going to use heading large for this one right here. Okay, so we're going to close out of here, and then let's go in and add a large heading. So we're going to add 2 columns here, and we're going to add a text module like that. Okay, great. Next, if you want to make this heading large, what you need to do is to, in fact, let's just make this a bit smaller so that it's not really covering a majority of the page. Okay, so we're going to come over here now to design text. And then on the text size here, this is where we're going to click here on the variables tab. And remember, we said we wanted heading large. So we're going to come over here and select it. Okay, now notice that this is just the size for the heading. For this to look great, we also need to add the line height. Okay, that is very important. So this is now an extra step that we need to do using the normal Divi system, because our variable here for the main heading does not allow us to combine this with the line height. And you'll see in a moment what I mean. So anyway, we're going to come over here to the text line height, and then we're going to click the variables. And we also have a line height in here. Boom, there we go. So now we have the line height, and we've entered these 2 variables. Now notice that I'm doing these things in line. So I'm actually using the Divi builder to achieve this. So when it comes now to SiteKrafter, let's do the same thing. I'm going to come over here, 2 columns, and we're going to add a text module like that. And then we're just going to shorten this to make it similar to what we have over here to the right. Okay, so the difference now is, if I wanted to add my heading here, I will just, in fact, I'll just copy that, highlight that, and just set it to heading 1. Okay, but that's not our heading size. So for this design system, we come over here to advanced, CSS ID and classes, and then all I need to do is to enter SK. Now, do you see that the line height is perfect? I did not need to go in and do any adjustments. It's just there, and it's just done once and for all. But when you take a look now at this system here, you notice now that every time I need to add my heading, I will need to go in and add these variables. Okay, so we come over here, we add a text module, and perhaps maybe you want to add another heading. You'd go into the text and then click on your text here, go to your variables and add your heading. Of course, this can also work in the headings tab. Wherever there's a size here, you just go into your heading size here and then enter your heading. Okay, so there's more clicking over here, whereas with the Divi 5 framework, SiteKrafter, you would just come over here and enter it. So for example, we have a text paragraph here. If I need to make my text here responsive and fluid, I'll just come over here, just go in and enter SK, and that's it. I'm pretty much done. I don't need to do anything else. Whereas over here now, I would need to go in and make sure that I know what the variable is. By the way, I have to come over here, check the variable. So this is going to be body. Okay, cool. I know it's body. So now I can come over here, go to design, text, and then on the size here, I click on this item here, and then I choose body. So now my text is now responsive and fluid because over here on the variables, I've used classes. But here's the thing now, as we are designing our website, there's certain things that need to be addressed as we're designing, and this needs to be done really fast. Let's say I want to add some sort of a warning as I'm designing my website to just highlight something very important. So over here, I would need to go in and design it. So for example, I would come over here, go into design, and then I want to add a bit of padding. So I'm going to scroll down here, go to spacing. Okay, so padding here, I'm going to say 2 rem, for example. I'm going to apply it all sides, 2 rem, like that, right? And then for the background color, I would come over here, and then I'll go to the background, go to global because that's the best way of doing it. And then I'll add my background color. And perhaps this is how I'm going to achieve this. Now, I want you to take a look and see how this is done now with SiteKrafter. Same thing, but different process. Okay, so for SiteKrafter now, I would come over here and I'll just select this. Okay, and then I go to advanced, and all I have to do here is to type in warning. Do you see that? So just by typing warning, it has automatically updated this. It has given me my rounded corners here, and everything is looking great. I can change this to notice. So my color is selected and everything is in place. I don't need to do anything. Now, do you see how fast that is? This has saved me from clicking in, adding the padding, like how I've done here, adding the padding and making sure that I add my color. Everything is done for me. So all these are done automatically for me just by doing that. Now, if I want to make my text fluid, SK, and that's it. You know, my text is now fluid. So let's say perhaps I want to add some blurbs as I'm designing my website. So for SiteKrafter, all I need to do is to click here. I'm going to go in, add a single blurb like that. But let's say I want to further design this. I want to give it a border around it, and then I'm going to give it a color and so on. So here's what you need to do using the SiteKrafter framework. And I want you to notice the difference here as we are designing this layout. I want you to notice the difference where I'm going in to add all the changes and how I'm going to do it in the normal Divi. Okay, so over here now, I'm going to select my blurb and I'm going to go to advanced, CSS ID and classes. And I'm going to start off by adding my padding large. Okay, so just by doing PAD-L, I've actually added my padding large. I know you can't see it right now. Well, here's the thing. Now, pay attention closely because this is very important. Now, I am going to add a background color to this. So I'm going to say BG-gray, and then I'm going to say gray 100. Okay. Now, notice that I have my color. So if I want to make this even darker, I can even go and say gray, for example, 300. In fact, let's work with gray 300 because at least here we can see what is going on. Now, if I want to add a border radius to this, I'm just going to say RAD-L for radius large. Okay, so that's all I need to do. And my design here is starting to take shape. Now, let's do this over here with our normal Divi setup. I'm going to come over here and then I'm going to add my blurb. So first of all, I need to come over here to the design, spacing. I'm not sure now what padding large is going to be. What size is it? I have no idea. So I'm just going to say, let's go with 3 rem. Okay, just for the sake of this tutorial. So we're going to go with 3 rem. But at the same time, remember, we can also set our variables over here, which we can go in and enter by coming over here. But do you see how this is starting to get all cluttered? Because, I mean, this is getting a lot complicated. It's not as clean if you add all your variables, and trust me, these variables can get up to 30, 40. So you're going to have a massive list here of 40 variables, which you're going to be using as you're designing. And I'm pretty sure you can agree with me that doesn't look very, very clean. Okay, so I've added, let's go back in. I was getting distracted here. Let's go to our spacing. We've added 3, and then we're going to do the same here, 3 rem. Okay. Now it's time to add the background color. Notice what I need to do. I have to go back here, go to background, and then I can go in and add my background color like that. Now I need the border radius. Again, these radius, you need to go in and make sure that they are all the right sizes. So here I'm going to say 1 rem. Okay, I'm just doing it for this tutorial, 1 rem. But now here's where the big difference is. Over here on SiteKrafter, My radius here is set to large. I can set it to small just by doing that. I can set it to medium by just adding an M. I can set it to extra large. So I don't need to memorize the sizes as I'm designing because it's already there. This is a class-based system. Okay, so now that I have my radius all set up, right? And then over here, pretty much we have something similar. If I want to now change this to radius maybe 0.5, I would need to come over here and change it here or in the variables over here. But like I said, these variables, the more we add them, we are going to have a lot and we're going to have a very long list. Anyways, so let's say this is our final design. We're happy with that. We're just going to duplicate this a few times. Okay. But now there's no way of making this into some columns. So what I would need to do is to go into my row settings and then duplicate it here like that if I want them side by side. Okay. But I still need to go in and make further adjustments here. But now take a look at how this is going to work. Over this side, I have to duplicate it twice, like what I've just done. And then all I need to do is to go to my row settings. I'd come over here to this column, go to advanced, and same thing. I'm going to stick to my classes, and here's how it works. All I need to do is to say gap, and then, no, I need to say grid. What am I talking about here? Grid, and then I'm going to say grid auto. So this now has created a grid for me that looks beautiful. It's automatic. I don't even need to stress about this. So if you compare to this, here we have a different way because we have all these columns. You can see this, these are the columns selected. Whereas over here, I only have one column. Look at this, one column. So this also works with Flexbox. It also works with grid. So all this is baked into the SiteKrafter framework. So this is the main difference. Divi gives you the tools. SiteKrafter gives you a system. So this is the design system, and this is what makes the designing totally different. So you may be saying, well, you know what? I don't mind. I don't want to pay so much money to pretty much do what I can do in Divi and set up my own variables. Yes, you can do that. But remember, I'm saying here, your variables list here is going to get massive, okay? And when it gets massive, it's going to get very tricky to use. So let me just show you one more time. So I haven't even gone in and added quite a lot, and also notice that this is how all our variables are going to be added. And like I said, you are going to have a massive list here. Okay, and I've only entered what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just say 10. Okay, but there's more than 10 variables that you need to be adding here. You need to add your sizes. You need to add your radius. You need to add your, there's just so much. All your text sizes, your extra large, your text large, your text medium, your heading small, heading large. You need to add all those. In the end, you're going to have a massive list here. And in my opinion, it's not really a clean way of working. Whereas over here, all I need to do is to head over to my references here, and all I need to do is to make sure I master all these shortcuts. So let me show you quickly. So here you can see we have margin top, medium. Okay. So all you need to remember here is MTM. Every time you need to add, let's say, different sizes, or different spacing. So here you see I have duplicated this. Now, this is by design, by the way. So what I want to do now is to add spacing that is both mathematically calculated using a scale that is recommended for UI designers. This is just not a normal scale. This is a proper scale, and whatever I'm customizing here is all fluid as well. Okay, let me show you. So here we are going to go to advanced, and let's go to CSS ID and classes. So we're going to say empty dash. For this one here, I'm going to go with small. Okay, now look at that size. It's small. Now let's duplicate this as well because I want you to see the scale. Okay, so now I'm going to again go into this one here, CSS ID and classes, but this time I'm going to say MT-L for large. Now, do you see that? In fact, we jumped one. We need to go medium. Okay, so that's medium now. Okay, let's move on to this one here. In fact, let's duplicate because I have more sizes. Okay, so we have our small, medium. So this time it's large. I'm going to come over here, advanced, and then I'm going to say MT-L for large. Now, do you see the spacing here? It looks beautiful because it is well calculated. So we got large, and then we are going to need extra large here. So dash XL. Look at that. Now we don't need this top one anymore, so that's fine. Now this is small, medium, large, and extra large. So this spacing here is very, very important because it is calculated using a scale. Okay, it's not just random numbers that I think work well. These are sizes based on design principles. And I want to show you something very cool. Now, let me show you how this is also responsive. I'm going to come over here. We're going to do a quick preview. And with this preview, I'm going to do inspect. And now let's take a look at this. I'm going to make this screen smaller. Now, look at that. Watch the sizes. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that amazing? The spacing now has gone even smaller, and that is adapting based on the screen size. Okay, this is not what we had initially. Look at that. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I know it's not very clear here and it's very annoying. Let me go back and let's put this in one column. Perhaps maybe we might be able to see this in case you've missed this. Okay. So here we are. I'm going to hit save and hopefully it's updated. Oh, no, it hasn't. Let's refresh this. Okay, there we go. So hopefully we'll be able to see this. So I'm making it smaller, smaller. Now watch the size, especially on the top one. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. It's getting smaller, 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 smaller. So this space is not your normal space, okay? It's not your average spacing here. This spacing is well calculated and it is fluid. So everything you're going to design with the SiteKrafter framework is going to be responsive. We're talking about padding. We're talking about margins. We're talking about the typography. Everything is well calculated. And this is what makes SiteKrafter very, very powerful. And also there's a feature here, and this is, I know it may seem like it's it's not really important, but this feature here is very important as well because this is keyboard navigation and this is ideal for accessibility. So to activate it, you just press tab. And as you're scrolling through here, you can see on the top, we have this border, which is showing. Now we are on the logo and now we're on the home button. So this is your keyboard navigation. Keyboard navigation is also very, very important when you're designing your website. So there's a lot of features here that are going to be, added into SiteKrafter framework. And remember, I'm using the word framework. So you may be asking now, when can I use SiteKrafter and when can I use just the Divi theme? Well, it's very important here because if you are going to be using SiteKrafter, you're going to be someone who probably wants to have consistency throughout each and every website you're going to build, because every site you build, you load up SiteKrafter framework. And that framework is going to have all these ingredients baked in versus Divi, where unless you've saved all your variables in the cloud, then it's going to be a bit difficult, okay? Because every time you have to go in and add your variables manually. Whereas with the SiteKrafter system, it's all baked into the child theme. And this is really, really powerful. So I've made a little table here just to show you what is where as we compare the Divi Core and SiteKrafter Pro. So variable support, yes, we have it in the Divi Core. We also have it in SiteKrafter Pro. So here, there's no difference. Design system, no. Divi gives you the tools and SiteKrafter gives you a class-based scalable system. So this is a system that you can teach your design team, you can teach all your colleagues, and even for yourself. If you're going to use SiteKrafter, you know that all your websites are going to be consistent. It's only the fonts or the colors that are going to be different. But when it comes to the sizes and everything, it is going to be 100% consistent. Okay, let's move on. Spacing and typography scale. Here you have to set it up manually. Okay, so you have to go and find all the clamp values and add them into the variable manager individually. Whereas over here, it's clean. There's logical naming, so everything is done for you. Okay, let's go to workflow efficiency. So with the Divi Core, it is slower because it doesn't have a structure. Whereas over here, we have reusable classes. So our classes can be used pretty much every now and again. And once you learn SiteKrafter Pro, it means all the sites you're going to be designing from this moment onwards are going to be consistent. So this is the main difference. I know you may be thinking, well, why is Divi so difficult? No, 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 no. It has to be this way, because if Divi starts giving you all these reusable classes or sizes, it won't work for every single person. Some people just want to have their own sizes and set their own classes and set everything. But for Divi to do that, I don't think it would be ideal. So Divi hasn't done anything wrong here. Okay, so let's continue on here. So when it comes to team collaboration, of course, Divi has Divi Teams. It also has the Divi Cloud. So if you're going to use Divi without that, then you have no shared system here. So which means it's a massive disadvantage. Whereas over here with SiteKrafter Pro, it's ideal for teams and you can hand off the work, which makes it very, very good. Okay, so over here, accessibility features. This has basic and it's a manual setup, whereas here we only have the basic built-in accessibility support. For example, I've mentioned the fluid typography. I've also mentioned the keyboard navigation. So these are the inbuilt, but we're also going to be adding even more like the contrast. That's going to be added, as time goes on, because still Divi is building. Okay, let's move on. Learning curve. Well, the Divi core, to be honest, I give Divi for this. It's very easy to learn. Whereas with the SiteKrafter Pro, it's easy to adopt with documentation, which is something that you need to pretty much go to. For example, here we have the reference. So you have to, come over here and take a look at all these every now and again. So if you want to add a heading large, this is the shortcut you need. But of course, if you're using this on a regular basis, you are going to master these easily. And you can see here, font weights, everything is all written down for you. Now imagine trying to have all these variables added in the variable manager. It's going to be massive. Anyway, let's continue on here. So the next thing here is the starter templates. So here with the Divi core, they are aesthetic focused only, whereas with the SiteKrafter Pro, the approach is different. It's smart. It's a system-based template, which means you can always go in and make some tweaks, adjust them, because they are using a structure based on a framework. Okay, so moving on, you may be asking, well, okay, Divi, is it good for everyone? Well, it's good for beginners and casual users. But if you want to go advanced, if you're a freelancer or agency owner or power user, then you definitely need the SiteKrafter Pro. Okay, value over time, well, it slows down on big projects. Definitely, as you're designing, you're going to slow down because you're going to find where all these variables are. And, it's just a bit overwhelming when you start designing a massive website with the core system. But with the SiteKrafter Pro framework, it is going to speed up as you scale. Definitely, this will speed up as you scale. So hopefully, I've managed to tell you the differences between the two. And don't forget, we also have Flexbox. There's quite a lot that can be added to the Divi core. But with the SiteKrafter framework, you're going to have all these baked and ready to go. So that's the main difference. So if you're someone who wants to design consistent, scalable websites, which are easier to maintain, then SiteKrafter Pro is definitely the way forward. But if you just want to, design websites as a casual designer on your Divi projects, or even, as a beginner, then of course, the Divi core is the way to go. So I hope I've managed to state the differences between the two. And by the way, if you head over to SiteKrafter Pro, this is actually on sale. I am going to be increasing the prices very soon. So you may be saying, well, why is this very expensive? 167, isn't that crazy? Well, it seems that way, but remember this. If you're into designing websites and you want to design professional looking websites, then you want to have a structure. You want to have a framework. Now, there are other frameworks out there like Tailwind. These are Bootstrap. These are frameworks that make sure that whatever you're designing is consistent. This is what SiteKrafter is going to offer you. So this is going to save you time. $167 for unlimited websites, and at the same time saving you time and allowing you to design professional looking websites. I think definitely this is worth it. Now, this also gives you access to the SiteKrafter community, and this comes in as limited updates, unlimited websites, unlimited support. It's also going to come in with a web design course. Yes, web design course, because once this is complete and up to date, and Divi has added the Flexbox and the grid, then pretty much I'm ready to go and design the web design course. It's also going to have extensive documentation and also best practices, because you need this as you're designing websites. Otherwise, you're going to be designing mediocre websites that are not consistent and very, very boring. So this is why SiteKrafter Pro is definitely something that you need. Even if you're not using it right now, this is the right time to purchase it. And when you start designing your website seriously, then you can start using it. I mean, there's going to be full support for this, a lot of documentation, a lot of tutorials, and we're also going to be basing all our designs for our starter sites on SiteKrafter Pro. So this is huge. This, in my opinion, is the best way to design your websites using Divi. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to get to grab your 40% discount very soon. The prices are going to increase, and this is also going to go on to an annual subscription. They won't be a lifetime anymore. So this is the right time for you to grab this license. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Let me know what you think in the comments box below. Thank you.